going to be doing is running through the key changes that were made to ICH GCP in the addendum and how those changes impact sponsors and CROs and clinical investigators and sites. So before we go into too much detail, I'm just going to explain the agenda to you. First of all, we'll just run through a quick introduction, then we'll review the learning objectives for the training. We'll have a quick look at some refresher information on ICH GCP, just to bring everybody up to the latest information, and what some of the influencing factors were for the changes that happened in 2016. And then we're going to delve into an overview of the changes and a detailed review of each change and how they impact us. And then we'll close with some key messages and a review of the learning objectives, and then we'll close. So just a little bit about me. I'm based in the UK. I have about 23 years experience working in clinical research, and that includes both working operationally and in quality, process and training. I've spent a lot of time building and leading clinical project management departments, and part of that has been developing and delivering gold standard regulatory and project management and clinical research related training, and I work very closely with Barnett in those particular areas. I also have a lot of hands-on experience in my past from planning, leading, monitoring and implementing trials and programs, and I've also got my project management professional. So that's just a little bit about me and my background. Okay, so what is it that we're going to cover at the session today? We're going to look at the rationale for the addendum, and we'll refer to GCP as E6R2, and what that means, E6 means Efficacy Topic 6. So ICH divides its topics into different areas, and ICH GCP is E6. And R2 is the revision 2, which refers to the addendum. We're going to look at the terms that are new and updated in ICH GCP, and then we'll go into detail about what those individual changes actually are. And we'll really focus on what is the impact for you guys and how is it best to manage that within your organisation. So let's have a quick refresher on ICH GCP. So it was first published in, well, does anyone remember the 1996 version coming out? I certainly remember I joined the industry around that time, and I remember when ICH GCP first came out. But then the recent update was getting on for quite a while ago now, nearly 3 years ago in 2016, and that's really what we're going to focus on, is what were those key changes. So it's recommended that ICH GCP is followed when you have to generate trial data that is intended for eventual marketing application or regulatory submission. But it does state that it may also apply to other clinical investigations that have an impact on safety and well-being of human subjects. And let's just remind ourselves of what the definition of ICH GCP, which is documented here in this box, an international ethical and scientific quality standard for designing, conducting, reporting trials that involve the participation of human subjects. And ultimately, by complying with ICH GCP, we provide public assurance that the rights, safety and well-being of subjects are protected and that are consistent with the origin and the Declaration of Helsinki. And secondly, but just as importantly, is that any data that we generate is both reliable and credible. And really it's about continually assuring the public of those two requirements. So does anybody remember how many principles of ICH GCP there are?
13.
Yep, brilliant. Okay, spot on. Okay. All right, so why is it that ICH GCP was updated? And there were various factors that influenced the rationale for those updates, and we're just going to look at some of these very briefly now. So since the last version of the guideline approximately 20 years ago, the scale and complexity and cost of clinical trials have really increased, and there was a need to modernise GCP in line with those advances in technology and globalisation, and also to look at the overall efficiency and of the conduct of the trials and really refocus our activities on the critical aspects of GCP that impact human subject protection and data credibility, rather than focusing on issues that don't impact either of those really important factors. And then also to address quality concerns that regulatory authorities were seeing time and time again. So one of the new sections in GCP really addresses the whole quality risk management approach, and what regulators wanted to see was a holistic approach to how we organise quality, rather than quality being isolated in silos or different departments and sectors. Address lack of oversight, and we'll talk about oversight more in the context of both investigators and sponsors. We'll look at areas around addressing the insufficiency for root cause analysis and corrective and preventive actions, and then really a focus on, as sponsors, how we can better utilise resources to lead to greater efficiency and ideally getting drugs and devices and solutions to patients much more quickly, enhancing innovation, reducing the cost of R&D, and getting better productivity in line with those reduced costs.